Hey guys, how's everybody doing this week? It's Wednesday already, midweek. Wow, can't believe that we're already stepping into June just ahead of tomorrow's 6/6 portal. And I've been head down in sessions, of course, for the Empowerment Pack, doing the month ahead readings, and now getting ready for the new moon in Gemini tomorrow. So I'm about to start recording those messages for all who are joining me there. And I'm going to share with you here just an update on all the ways that you can join if you would like. If you still want to get in for this empowerment pack for this month, where you get your month ahead energy reading plus the 2 new and full moon readings, that is still available through this week. I can still squeeze a couple in here. So if you would like to join me for the full Monty, I would love to have you. If you just want to come along a la carte for tomorrow's new moon, you're welcome to. I have a new moon special reading. It's $22 where you can join me for the extended part 1, where we will dip into all the astrological energies with this new moon. I'll share a ritual from Forever Conscious that you can use to tune in with these new moon energies. And then we're going to do a spread. And I'll tell you, up to this moment, I'm still conflicted on which one. It's down to 2. There's intentions and things about both that I like. So I might end up doing a little hybrid like any proper Gemini dualistic energy would. So that feels really aligned. So I'm getting ready to record that part 1 for this new moon reading. And then part 2 is your personal card pulls for the new moon. So I can't wait to share that. So those are 2 ways you can join me if you're interested. But what I thought I would share here, little Wednesday wisdom, is a little bit about something I shared in the Empowerment Pack month ahead reading for June. Every month, I sort of tune into words, a phrase, or something that's coming through to me as spiritual breadcrumbs towards like a theme for the month or areas of focus or something. It never fails. It's really neat because each month it ends up playing out one way or another. This month, the words you may have noticed on the altar space if you've seen our collective week ahead card pulls this week. June, transform into abundance. And we have this theme going on about the butterfly and the butterfly life cycle and what that metamorphosis process is like. And so I'm going to share a little 5-minute excerpt from the Empowerment Pack month ahead reading, where I shared a little bit about what was coming in as far as inspiration for those words. And I have some props on the altar, all the things that I bring in to really infuse the space with high vibrational energy, really setting the intention for, again, utilizing these tools for insight, guidance, and wisdom for the month ahead that you then bring to your own intuitive knowing. You're empowered with that information to make informed choices as you move through the month with your free will. So I set up the altar and I had this little globe that I'll be showing in this clip. It's like this little wooden thing that inside there's these little people, and it was just so cool how it all came together, but also where I placed it on the altar ended up looking almost exactly like an oracle card that I shared a couple years ago on a Wednesday. So I'm going to share that here too. It's a little Wednesday wisdom with real footage from the butterfly bush outside my house as it was at that time, which was gorgeous. It was fully in bloom. The monarch butterflies were everywhere that day, and I had grabbed my camera and I took a little video clip and was inspired then with some messages, and this is one of them. That butterfly bush actually now has been cut down to like a tiny little shrub because it needed it. It's going through its own life cycle, right? Very symbolic always. Nature speaks that, in the ebbs and flows, the highs, the lows, the rise and fall of tides and cycles and things that we move through, there are seasons of great abundance and outward blooming and blossoming. And then there's seasons where we pull back or where there's a cutback or in some way there's a transformation that's taking place. So it's funny because the way the butterfly bush looks today, although it's healthy and green, it hasn't flowered yet, it's really small. But what you'll see in the Wednesday wisdom clip I'm sharing is when it was really in its prime. And this beautiful card came forward and it looks like what's happening in real life on my altar. It's crazy. You'll see it at the end. It's a monarch butterfly on top of a world that sort of zippers open. So just kind of connecting all those spiritual breadcrumbs, I thought it was really neat that we can really bring in this analogy of the cycle that the butterfly moves through, of course, beginning as the larva, the caterpillar, going into a chrysalis, and going through that process of literally turning to mush, legs falling off, dissecting itself in order to emerge as the butterfly. And really using that analogy to imagine, that as we're experiencing it as individuals, as a human collective, as we go through this metamorphosis and thinking about where are we in that process? And so in those times where it might be dark and mushy, or in some way we don't know that what quite it will be like to emerge into that new transformed state, that we can tap into that to find perhaps inspiration, hope, as we grow. So with that, I thought maybe I'll just pull a little midweek card for us. We've been using this simple deck, Butterfly for Life Changes. I did pull a card for us this week. I think this week we got adult children, right? When I pulled it for the month ahead, we got get some rest. So then when I break into part 2 for your personal card pulls for the month ahead, I pulled one for everyone that, was with me for the empowerment pack. And I will tell you that 1/3 of the people got the same exact card. Out of 44 cards, the same one came up. So I'm super curious to see what comes up for us today here as just a little midweek message, but using this butterfly energy as an inspiration, because we're getting ready to step into tomorrow's new moon in Gemini on the 6/6 portal, which is really carrying potent energy for transforming, stepping into the new, crossing over that threshold, that portal, that doorway that leads to, and the vibrations of 6 are bringing in healing, harmony, balance. It highlights relationships. And so when I get into the deep dive on the new moon here, we will really talk about how, this new moon is creating real fertile ground for growth, healing, expansion, rebalancing in relationships of all kinds. And so, with that in mind, let's just tap in collectively to see what's coming up for us here in terms of butterfly life changes. And yeah, these cards are pretty specific in terms of keywords, and sometimes they're, just direct meaning. But I like to utilize the signs, the symbols, keywords, and such in order for us to intuit meaning for these cards and how they might be coming across for each of us. So I'm just sort of setting the intention here for a message for us this Wednesday. What do we most need to know this week? See what's coming forward. Thank you to those of you that have reached out for your card pulls this week and sharing with me how this week's cards are already resonating. Let me tell you, yesterday's 5 of Wands, the stirring the poop card, it's still in progress, of course, but it was just so clear to me how that was coming up for me this week in the lives of people in my orbit, and several of you that I talked to, really on point for a potential block or challenge this week. So, as we look at our midweek blessing today, feeling into how these things are showing up for us this week and how we can best work with these energies as we go. So let's take a look. One card here for midweek. Oh, I think we got 2. Gemini, what are we gonna do? We got 2. Of course. Okay, here's the first one. The first one is finances, and the second one is leaving. So look at that. Look at the difference between the two, the striking energies that we're seeing here. Definitely getting pulled in. I was really feeling this blue today myself. And so it's just funny that it's all coming together. And then over here we have this leaving card. So let's take a look first at finances. And see what's coming in here. Okay. So this card signals a change in your financial situation. Please don't allow yourself to assume that this is a negative reversal. The only reason why you would feel afraid is because the ego associates change with fear. Yet this card heralds a reward for the diligent work you've done and are committed to continuing. Through the spiritual law of cause and effect, efforts always yield corresponding results. This also means that if you haven't been actively putting in effort, your financial returns will reflect this. Happily, though, you do have the power to change your finances for the better by taking the steps that you are divinely guided to. Keep your thoughts elevated because positive thoughts really do create beneficial financial changes. So in general, this card is speaking to good timing to potentially ask for a raise or a promotion, starting a new business, reducing expenses, caution about whom you enter into business agreements or sign contracts with. It can represent an investor, an inheritance. Remember we had that 10 of Pentacles to kick off our week? Winning a settlement, a favorable outcome, graduation, settled debt. I mean, guys, we can't make this up. You know, I said about the adult children card this week. My daughter is graduating next Thursday. All the kids in the area are graduating right now. Like, it is a theme in my world. And so many of those keywords I just mentioned, I know I'm thinking of you guys, like thinking about who all could be connecting with this card. Because again, finances, it's not just money in terms of, yes, those physical pentacles, everything I was saying about that 10 of Pentacles card that came up to set the tone for this week, but abundance of all kinds, right? And energetic commodities and the things that we value and the things that we invest in and more. So that's coming in as one aspect to take a look at. And then we have this card of leaving. Okay, so let's take a look at that, see what themes that's bringing in for us. Okay. This card confirms what you already know. It's time to leave a toxic situation. You've done your best to heal the conditions, but sometimes the circumstances become intolerable and the healthiest choice is to move on. This naturally brings up feelings of confusion and insecurity. However, rest assured that whenever you're on the right path, which you are, everything works out for the best. Your departure doesn't need to be sudden or drastic. Like a butterfly building a cocoon, you can plan and prepare for this transition right now. You can even make your exit gradual so that you feel comfortable and secure during this healthy change. Letting go of fear, releasing an addiction, travel, a family member leaving home. I don't know. I mean, you know, I always say, give a reading, get a reading. So of course, there's messages in here for me, abounding, from adult children to all these changes, graduation, family member leaving home, got it. So for everyone who connects to any of that in any way, of course, this is also building up for us, you know, new moons, while typically we're focusing on this being a wonderful time to plant seeds, new intentions, you know, what it is that we wish to bring in on this next new cycle. Prior to those new beginnings, it's necessary for us to release and shed and leave behind whatever is not coming with, and sort of turning over that soil for those seeds that we're planting. So, you know, food for thought there about the notion of what's leaving and then what we are investing in. Think of that finance card, those pentacles, as seeds that we're planting. So there's a reflection on what we're leaving, what has passed, what has served, what we turn from with gratitude, and recognizing the role that it has played in serving to create the fertile soil for the new seeds that we're now planting, what we're investing in anew. So double message coming in here from the butterflies, little Wednesday wisdom for you. I'm going to pop here the quick clip from the month ahead reading for June so that you can see a little bit about how it all matchy ends with the Wednesday wisdom message from, like I said, a couple years ago around the butterfly bush, but see how it all comes back around. Nature speaks, and we have these symbols that we can tune into. So once again, if you would like to join for the empowerment pack for the bundle that is including 3 readings this month, you are welcome to join for that. Or if you're just wanting to tune in for the lunar reading for the new moon in Gemini that I'll be recording today and delivering to you, you can do that as well. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out, but I'm sending you all much love, many blessings, and hope you continue to have a beautiful week. We'll talk soon. So just sharing with you a couple more spiritual breadcrumbs that led last night into this morning for me to really land on this theme and kind of underscore it. As I was leaving my room this morning, I saw the little wooden globe that I have in my room that inside has people that are representing all of the different continents of the world, these little wooden painted peoples that are inside the world. And thinking about this butterfly symbolism and this notion of becoming the chrysalis, because I learned a fun fact that actually butterflies do not go into a cocoon, they go into a chrysalis because it's their actual body that creates the hard outer shell that comes from what they have shed, what they have released. So just kind of bringing this from our microcosms out into the macrocosm, onto the big stage as we're stepping into June, while there is certainly so much going on in our world, that feels like what's being described as this process of literally turning ourselves into mush, to dissolving in order to completely rebuild. Right. So again, just giving you some breadcrumbs for thought, for reflection as you move through this month in what you see happening outside, what you're experiencing from the inside, and really just thinking of that in terms of the butterfly life cycle and just in the natural rhythms of time and humanity and the universe, and how age over age things come into being, things are shed and released and built again, and really thinking about from the highest vibrational perspective that is available, the highest frequency that's available, what does that look like as it's taking shape. So as I picked up my globe, I was reminded of this interesting something I got once in like a little self-care box. And it's just a fun little fidgety thing that really kind of mimics sort of like, different sacred geometry shapes. I don't know if it's coming up on camera, but, it just, this idea of taking on new form and starting with matter as we have it in this moment, and it being compressed or expanded, and just the symbolism of just something every day that sits on a shelf kind of collecting dust. It was a little freebie that I got. Look at that, totally flat, totally changed its shape and its form. So, but there's this, requirement for me to be involved in the process of the shape shifting, right? And so just sort of kind of building off of all of this, little spiritual breadcrumbs coming in for our meditation and reflection this month when we think about transforming into abundance. And what does that look like for each of us, and the process and where we are in that process. And I was feeling this because May has felt very foggy for me, very much like just trying to like one foot in front of the other, getting through endless to-do lists, a lot of things that needing time, attention, energy, while also experiencing a lot of significant emotions. With oftentimes very little time to process it, and all of those things. So just, bringing in my off the cuff things I wanted to share about these elements that you see behind the camera. Just reminding you that they're very intentional and very symbolic, and that we can assign really profound meaning to everyday things, childhood toys and little gadgets and gizmos and things. And by the way, yeah, I had quite the time circling around the globe today to find like a Rubik's Cube where it all lined up. And so once again, I feel that it's another sign of where things are at and how we may be feeling in that chrysalis of, turning to mush and dissolving in order to rebuild, and the collective memory of that. And knowing, again, like inspired by this butterfly analogy, if the butterfly holds memory of it being a caterpillar, we can think about how far we have come as a collective over time through the ages and where we find ourselves now in this place, and tap into that memory, that collective memory of where we have come from and where we are yet to go. So I hope that's speaking to you. It's speaking to me. We're going to build on that as we now will get into our card pulls and talking about our altar elements that have come forward in each of those cards. Let's go take a look.